Watch the game. Watch the game sports from your man LA Cheatham. Dysfunction week 14. Chicago Bears. San Francisco 49ers. 38-13. The 49ers over the Bears.
Yeah.
Dysfunction all over the place, man.
Yeah, man. What up, good people? It's Benjamin Banneker. Don't think we down. Don't think our low energy is any reflection of like we just got our hearts tied up in this team.
No,
'Cause that ain't
most definitely not.
it ain't what it is. Yeah, that ain't what it is at all. We're gonna have to talk to some sponsors. We're gonna have to talk to our technical department because we are a little hot right now. But
Yeah.
other than that, Michigan beat Ohio State. That was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I'm high off of it. And we got Bama in the bowl game, and we got the Bears.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the college football playoff bracket, but I did, and we unfortunately weren't able to go on days after Michigan upset Ohio State, and the reason why I wanted to talk about that victory was because I'm scrolling my Facebook page and I go through the stories and I saw the celebration that you, number 12, and Cutter Pac-Man had in the media room in the wood. And it changed my whole, it just changed everything about that day in particular. Michigan beating Ohio State. I was getting ready for a high school basketball game. We opened up our high school season on that day, and I watched that game in the locker room in the coach's office.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think about was you guys as this thing was unfolding.
Yeah.
It was like, because we had spoken a few days before, and me, I didn't think Michigan had a chance.
Me either.
And they, I think Ryan Day in Ohio State Buckeyes, many critics feel that he went out there to prove that he could play a physical brand of football, and it backfired on him.
Yeah.
Because Ohio State isn't built that way anymore. They have the 5-star athletes on the perimeter, with the wide receivers and the passing game. And they got some pretty good backs and, traditionally the great offensive line, but you can't really mistaken the most recent Ohio State football teams for being just physical. They were more for finesse than normal. And they went out against at home in the Horseshoe.
Mm-hmm.
Sun splashed. I mean, it was a beautiful day in Columbus.
It was cold as hell.
And it was sun splash, and Michigan went out there and got the job done. Coach Moore saved his job and probably got him a few more recruits. Speaking of that,
yeah,
I think they just signed Kirk Herbstreit's son.
They did.
And I saw that today, just before we went on today. But you guys had to be jubilant over there in the wood. I saw Cutter. Cutter had an out of body experience, boy, and that's what brought me here to want to talk about that for a hot second.
Which you didn't see because it was off camera. He knocked, the little tray tables. He knocked that over. He just flipped.
I think I heard that.
Yeah,
in the background.
Yeah, that was him flipping.
Yeah. So y'all had a hell of a cleanup after that.
No, it wasn't that tray table, but
okay,
an empty grape crush, and then he had drank, but he knocked it all over that over, and yeah, he definitely got out of body because I went into it, usually before that game, I have a hard time sleeping the night before. I'm just like, man, please don't. Come on, just not to these guys. And this time I just already chalked it up like we probably gonna lose by 15, 17 points, something like that. It just is what it is. And we'll get back at this thing next year. So as we got into it and it started being a game, the intensity
Yeah.
ramped up real quick.
Yeah, yeah, because I would think that at first you just wanted them to be respectfully
Right.
competitive, and they were that most definitely. But as the game went on and the clock started ticking down, both quarterbacks, neither one of the quarterbacks played had a spectacular game. I think both of them took turns turning the ball over.
Both had two
The,
picks. Yeah.
yeah, the defense took precedent in this game. The Michigan running back, he was the star of the game, I believe. He was the workhorse.
Khalil Mullins. Yeah, because Donovan
Yeah,
got
he
hurt.
had a great game.
Yeah.
But and now here we are. We'll be moving forward, getting ready for college football. We're gonna, down the road, weeks to come, talk about that a little bit more because the college football playoff is the bracket has been set. You said that Michigan has drawn
Alabama.
Alabama, and I don't even know what bowl they're playing in because I don't know any of the brackets, any of the bowl games that's been set up so far.
We will be in the ReliaQuest Bowl, formerly the
No,
Outback Bowl, in
okay,
Tampa, Florida on New Year's Eve at noon. So that's what we playing.
okay.
We shouldn't be there, not based off of the season we had and how we looked. I mean, that Ohio State victory really took
Gave
some
them
people
some
over the
juice.
yeah, it took
Yeah,
people over the edge. So we probably in the
and they
bowl,
and they and they will travel well.
right?
Um, and we also get a rematch of last year's
The Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl semifinal for national college playoff last year
Yeah,
under the old format of four teams. This was a semifinal last season. So um interesting because it gives Michigan, I think Michigan benefits more for one for beating Ohio State and putting themselves in this position. But then I think the biggest benefit for Michigan is in recruiting. And if they can go and show if they can finish with a win against Ohio State, I think that boosts their recruiting well into two, 2026, 27.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
I think it does wonders for Coach Moore.
we the last 2 weeks of the season really kind of turn. It's the best 7-5 season ever. I mean, you beat Ohio State. We signed
And
Bryce Underwood, which is the top recruit in the nation. It's supposed to be the closest thing to Cam Newton and Trevor Lawrence. Those is his comps coming out of high school. Like you said, Kirk Herbstreit's son just committed to us. It's been a lot of players. Once Bryce Underwood said he was coming to Michigan instead of LSU, a lot of recruits been hitting Michigan up like, "Hey, I want to come. I know I said I
mhm,
wasn't coming. But I want to come back now." So
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
feeling pretty good, to be a Wolverine right now.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, because I text you guys immediately. That's a hell of a consolation prize for the season
Yeah,
that they had all the ups and downs and not quite figuring out the number one position on the team, which is quarterback. I think they had three guys play quarterback at some point in time during the season. Moving them back and forth. Sometimes even playing two and three, at least two guys in the same game. So big victory for Michigan. Yeah, going in the right direction, and it's going to be a lot to look forward to. And Coach Jerome Moore is going to be definitely putting his stamp on that program in years to come. And I think that victory against Ohio State was it 13-10.
13-10.
13-10. Classic Michigan. The classic type of Michigan and Ohio State game, but probably not a modern. It's probably not very entertaining for the modern football fan. But Michigan is on a high. Let's see what they can do with it going into the bowl game against Alabama, and the spring football is going to be something to look forward to now, and then well into next season with the recruits and next year's team overall for 2025, the Michigan Wolverines. Had to get that out, but we are here, and we are here to talk about a little bit more of a dysfunctional football team in every sense of the word.
Yep.
Um, week 14, the Bears went out previously, fired a head coach, Matt Eberflus. Many fans probably hoped that there was going to be this big boost of effort and energy and toughness that you typically get from a lot of uh, professional and college football teams when a coach is fired. And apparently, this is what some people think that the players wanted. Before I go any further, how do you feel about that? 38-13, 49ers over the
You
Chicago
know what?
Bears.
I I had adopted more of your philosophy going into I guess this game versus the 49ers, because you already know I had got to the point after what was that Packers game. It
Mm,
got to the point like, okay, man, if these guys not looking like it's not worth my time, if I doze off, and I catch the highlights, and we'll catch up that way. So that was my stance going into it. I didn't really know what to expect. I was hoping that the team would come out and have that boost or that pop, because Thomas Brown, we want to see the brothers do good. So I wanted him to be painted in the most positive light that he could, and they came out there and they regressed. They actually
yeah,
regressed from what we had seen. At least the last what 3 out of the 4 games was close. It was right there at the end where they lost.
yeah.
This was
Well, all the way down to the last possession on every game up to that point. Yeah,
Yeah, and this was just a total regression. It was over before it started. That first touchdown to Jaquan Jennings in the corner. And
yeah,
when you saw how Kittle was able to just take over the game. I mean, the first time he touched the ball, it was like, oh, this don't look good. This don't look good. And then he got it again. It was like, oh, this really don't look good. They
yeah.
scored, and I think we came in. Didn't we go 3 and out?
Yes, yes. Uh,
It was,
Kittle 6 receptions for 151 yards. But he
and it
didn't
seemed
have
like
a touchdown.
all
He
in
was
the
just
first.
he was just eating them up in the middle of the field, getting wide open. Had you wondering, how could he get so wide open? Jennings was the one that benefited most from scoring. 7 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Um, just a couple stats. When you brought up Kittle, I want to touch on his stats. But yeah, how can you with as many injuries as they have? Um, you okay when you take you okay? You took McCaffrey off the field, so he's injured.
Yep.
So where
Trent
is your
Williams.
focus going to go? Trent Williams, he's old lineman, so yeah. I'm talking about the playmakers.
Wow. Okay.
Debo,
Backup running
Kittle,
back, Jordan Mason
backup,
out.
yeah. But this just goes to show you, and it's kind of interesting that they're playing the 49ers for me and get this type of performance. You had two teams. Probably we know what the 49ers are. We know what they were. They've been to the Super Bowl, multiple quarterbacks. They've gotten there with Brock Purdy and with Jimmy Garoppolo. They've gotten there. They've
Mm-hmm.
got there with two different quarterbacks. They haven't won it. But what I saw, what was on display, was culture. Culture. We a guy goes down, this guy steps up. And the names may change, but the culture doesn't.
Right.
And lately there has not been enough for the 49ers to win a lot of games this season. They're 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have a shot in their division because that division everyone's teetering right or just above 500. Okay, I think Seattle has kind of taken a step forward. They just beat Arizona, but that's a really competitive division where the 49ers still have a shot. But what was on display for me was culture. Culture. Doing it a certain way, every time, no matter who the players are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's missing with the Chicago Bears. And it brings me to right where I want to be with the conversation. But before I go any further, I want to touch on some statistics because I don't want to overlook the statistics for the stat boys. For Caleb Williams, he was 17 of 23 for 134 yards with 2 touchdowns. And for all those that's out there, this is reporting to the stat boys, that was 17 fantasy points if you're keeping count. Okay. So if that's important to you, those were the numbers for Caleb Williams. Brock Purdy. Most would say that Brock Purdy does not have the talent Caleb Williams has.
Agreed.
The Bears took an approach this season with Caleb Williams trying to mesh talent with talent, meaning you went out, you got what you thought was a more talented quarterback, and you put more talent around him. But the culture is what dictates this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 49ers were banged up in a few areas. Many would say that Christian McCaffrey is probably one of the top 3 running backs in the NFL.
Without
Most
question.
definitely.
Yeah.
So he's gone, and the backup to him was Jordan
Mason.
Mason.
Yep.
He wasn't doing a bad job. He was doing his thing. Once again, plug and play. Guy goes down, guy steps up. Culture. Still same style of game, physical, finding many different ways to do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
passing and running. So culture on display. So the Bears, you would think they had everyone on the offense was relatively healthy, right?
For the most part.
Okay. So you cannot argue with the talent on the Bears, but it's the culture. And it's not even established with the Bears. Matter of fact,
No, it's a
you
it's a
might
culture established. It's a
yeah,
losing culture.
yeah. You're right. You can almost say the players are running things at Hallis Hall. There's no, you know, the accountability thing is like we don't know where it's coming from or where it's going now, especially after you fire Matt Eberflus and we've been hearing all this about the fans. I mean, not the fans, but the players being so energized about the word was they were feeling really really great about Thomas Brown, but apparently they weren't feeling good enough because the 49ers showed them, look, we meeting at the same place. We both riding losing streaks. But this thing is just a little bit more important to us to kick your ass.
Yeah.
So you can continue to have your 7 game losing streak because we got a little bit more to play for. And a lot of people were saying that Kyle Shanahan, should the Bears trade for Kyle Shanahan? What the hell make you think that Kyle Shanahan even wants to be in Chicago? For one, it's cold. Two, two, the guys in the front office are like with Ryan Poles
They don't
and
know what
Kevin
they.
Warren and the McCaskies. What makes you think that he want to work with those people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we can't play fantasy football with this. But anyway, the culture showed up. The culture showed up. So Brock Purdy, 20 or 25, 325 yards and 2 touchdowns. Um, and I like to talk about special sauce. Okay, so I have a hard time pronouncing this running back's name,
Number
which was the
31.
backup.
Uh I
Ger-
can't
Gerardo,
we gonna call
15
him number
carries.
31.
Yeah, 15 carries, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Nothing great, but extremely effective. Extremely effective, especially when he had to be. Um, I'm gonna let you touch on some things.
You sound exasperated. You sound just
Well, it's because I saw this coming. I saw all of this coming,
yeah.
and so I got a lot to say. But I'm gonna be. I want you to touch on some things because I'm pretty sure you've had some time to think about it.
I mean, it's like I said, it's a losing culture at Hallis Hall. And when Ryan Poles came in and said we about to take the North and never give it back, I don't think he realized how difficult that would be to do that, because when he came into the situation, I don't think he knew it was this bad. Even with Kevin Warren, when Kevin Warren took the job, I don't think Kevin Warren knew it was this dysfunctional. I'm pretty sure he didn't think that what's George McCaskey would have as much input or pull as many strings behind the scenes as he does, because word on the street is Poles wanted to get rid of Eberflus after the Patriots game, but he couldn't do it because McCaskey wouldn't allow him to do so. And that cost you what, 3 more games? The season
Yep.
was still, it wasn't over then, but now we're clearly in, dare I say, get a good draft pick mode. Well, I
Yeah,
don't
they
want to
got to be in the top 5 right now,
they right. I think they're
somewhere.
9 right now. They definitely in the
Okay.
top 10. But
Okay.
so you had that going on. Then you bring in Caleb, and I'm absolving Caleb from the losing culture because he's a rookie. He just got there. It's got to be some vets that kind of got to be the leader of that team. But who are those vets? Vets. Cole Kmet been there. He ain't won nothing. Been a loser. DJ Moore been there. He ain't won nothing. He was in Carolina before that. Been a loser. He just been getting numbers, but he ain't won nothing. Who I mean, the guys that you had that was kind of productive, like your Moonies and stuff like that, they went out. They not there no more. So
Mm-hmm.
you leaning on guys like Mercedes Lewis, I guess, to be a voice in the locker room. He's 40 years old. He can talk all he wants to be blue in the
Mm-hmm.
face. But we know as players, former players, that I mean, we didn't play at no professional level, but we know if it's a guy out there and he's actually backing up what he's saying, that holds
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more weight.
Mm-hmm.
So who we just talking about offensive side of the football. Who on the offensive side of the football has that cachet, has a winning reputation? Even with Caleb, if you want to take his college career, yeah, he won the Heisman, but he never played for a college football playoff or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm absolving him because he came into this losing organization, this losing franchise, this losing what one playoff win? One playoff appearance, I think, because they ain't won no playoff game.
Who you
It's
talking about? The Bears?
Bears. They one
Oh,
playoff appearance in since 20,
uh,
I believe,
the
two
last time was
versus the Saints, and they lost.
uh, yeah, was it 22?
That was the last, and the time before that was versus the Eagles, the double doink,
2018. Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's been none before that. Then
No, no, it's been a long time. Yeah,
when you go
yeah.
over to the defensive side of the football, you got a lot of players that got paid. We know we got is it TJ
Well,
Edmonds
Edmonds
and Evans?
played with the Bills, and I believe he came from a startup winning culture. A young player that was in line to get paid, and he came to Chicago. Edwards came from Philly. He went to the Super Bowl,
And they
and the
lost.
next yeah, they lost to KC, and the next season he signs with the Bears. So those two players
That's
know
pretty much Roquan
something
right there.
about winning
Right.
in the season, in the regular season. And with Edwards, he knew, I've been to the Super Bowl. I played in the Super Bowl. Probably wasn't a big role, you know, in the rotation of linebackers at that time.
I
But
think
he
he was.
came to Chicago to be one of the main guys. But all along the defense up into the San Francisco game was the identity of the team. That was the best side of the ball.
But we wasn't
And
saying that though, because we seen slippage for a minute. But keep going.
yeah, but they've had some injuries. You texted in yesterday that Brisker's been out, and I'm going to be fair about that. Brisker, his identity and what he brought to this football team, what he brought to this defense, it has been missed, and it's hard to replace a player like that with his physicality, the style of play, and how he plays football. And you're missing that. Definitely, you're missing that. Um, Jalen Johnson has gotten paid, and some would say he's not playing at a high level, and some would say that you know he doesn't get picked on much. And then you also got Tariq Stevenson that's had good football player, but he's
Been at Saints.
simply been a different player since losing to Washington. And then you got the whole thing with the play calling of the defense. Now, but you got Eberflus gone. So many moving parts. One way or the other. And I came into this season, telling a lot of my fellow Bear fans, it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of new pieces, and all they could think about was all the touchdowns and all the great plays that are going to be made. It looks great on paper. But this the thing. You can't put it on paper until you do it on the grass. And this is what we get. And even with Caleb Williams and his statistics, is the bar for a quarterback in Chicago is not very high. So they could talk about all the records he's breaking and all of that. But we know the bar is not very high for that.
Right.
But even with all of his, if you look at the way that he's playing football games, he's having some moments. Statistically, it's showing up pretty good. But since they beat the Jaguars, he's been playing very well in the second half and fourth quarters. The thing is, at that point in the NFL, you get a lot of teams playing a lot of zone coverage, keeping everything in front. So in the last few weeks, I've come to understand that Caleb Williams has to be really getting really good at recognizing zone coverage because he's playing from behind consistently every week. And that's what makes the numbers kind of like inflated or irrelevant to me.
Empty calories.
Yeah, because my thing is setting a tone first 15 plays of the game. You know, whatever side of the ball, setting the tone on offense, setting the tone on defense on those first possessions. More times than not, they've been going 3 and out on those first possessions for the past few weeks. But in the second half, late in the game, they've been able to, make plays and score points. Also, before the firing of Eberflus, the defense has been opportunistic, making plays, causing a few turnovers, and putting the offense in good situations to put points on the board. That wasn't the case in San Fran. This game was over. Matter of fact, it was a 325 start.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and I went to go get a bite to eat, went to the fridge, get a bite to eat, and I sat down. I think I dozed off slightly before the Bears game came on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I woke up,
It was
it
over.
was 7-0 already.
Yeah.
So I didn't even see the first possession. And I think that's probably how when Kittle got started.
He did.
But it was 7-0 quick.
I think when they scored that first touchdown, I don't even think they had took 2 minutes off the clock. Maybe when the Bears,
Yeah,
it might
Jennings.
they might
Yeah,
have had
Jen.
12 minutes on the clock when the Bears touched the ball offensively, and they was already down 7 minutes, 7-0.
Yeah. So, and it didn't take long to go down 21 nothing. You
At that
know.
point, it was like, all right.
Yeah, and then okay, so we can say then we've seen this before. We fall down early because they have done it weeks before. The problem is someone I know most people were thinking, okay, we've been in this situation before. They're gonna make a comeback. So with that being said, Roma Dunze had a pretty good game. 2 touchdowns. Him and Caleb, you know, found the spark. But all over the place. You could see where guys had given up or either guys had quit and the effort was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't see that on that level until the 49ers game. And the unfortunate thing is there was so much great things to say from the players about Coach Thomas Brown. And all I could think about was, okay, I wanted Matt Eberflus fired. No one thought, we didn't think that they would ever do it in the middle of the season.
Right.
So once they fired him, I think I'll say, okay, so let's see what we get from this team. For that's the only thing we can evaluate now. How well can this team rally around this coach? And it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. And it leads me to it just spun me out of control because me and you were texting and I just went on a rant. I think you got to the point where you just stopped responding because I went on a complete rant. All I could think about was I could go all the way back to when I'm thinking they should have fired Matt Eberflus in January.
Right.
The arrogance not to call Jim Harbaugh, no matter how you feel about him. He was a championship football coach at the highest level, and you had an opportunity to at least call him. Dan Quinn, not quite
He
accomplished as
he interviewed.
Harbaugh,
Yeah.
but he wasn't your type of guy either. So then now I'm looking at guys like Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles and the McCaskies. And this what I'm talking about when I'm talking about dysfunction. It starts from the top to bottom. And I know everyone has a business model. Everyone has a type. Even from business to the dating pool. You have a type. And the Bears have a type. Unfortunately, and we can probably wrap up soon because now you're gonna get a chance to tell me what your type is for
Where they
this Bears team.
their type.
Unfortunately, I don't have any faith that they're going to get this next coaching hire right.
Oh wait, I get okay. So let me lay it out for you. First of all, their type is, I hate to say it, is loser. Okay. Even though Matt Nagy finished 34-31, which is over 500. Okay. But what I want them to do is I want them to trade a pick to go get an established head coach. But
Mm,
I think Kyle Shanahan, I think that's a pipe dream. I think that's just pie in the sky. I don't think that's the guy we should be targeting. The guy I would target is in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski. I would go,
okay.
I would go get him and,
Okay.
and pair him with a defensive coordinator that can rejuvenate and kind of, rework this defense. A new voice in the room that'll help put them on the field. I can't think of no defensive guys right now because I know Brian Flores is going to be up for a head coaching job.
Mm,
If we can't get Stefanski, and then we got to hire a coordinator, Then if we can bring in, let's just say we bring in a Brian Flores. I know that's a defensive guy.
Yeah.
But you got to pair him with Kingsbury, because I don't think Kingsbury really got an appetite to be a head coach anymore in the NFL. But if you compare him with a Sean McVay would be another one too that I would trade for him, because I think Matthew Stafford getting a little long in the tooth, he might be up for a change as well. He been to a Super Bowl, he didn't win it, right? No, he lost to the Patriots. But I would take that as well. But what
Matthew Stafford?
Oh yeah, they did win it.
He won a Super Bowl. Yeah, they beat they beat Cincinnati, I think.
Right, yeah. I forgot about this. Okay, so he would be another one on my wish list, but I think he's a little bit of a pipe dream, not as much as Kyle Shanahan. I think Stefanski is realistic. If you can't do that, and then if you have to pair like a Brian Flores with an offensive coordinator, that would be my second option. What I think is going to happen, because I've watched this team my whole entire life, I would not be surprised in these last 5 games, with 4 games left now, that the Bears go 4-1, 3-2, and that lands Thomas Brown the job going into the next season. That's what I expect the Bears to do, because they're the Bears. Because if they hire Thomas Brown, we already know his price tag ain't gonna be as high as Ben Johnson or anybody like that. Like, hey, bro, we gave you an opportunity. We just gave you a little head start on everybody else. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little hometown discount? Guess what else? You really not gonna have that much say into player personnel.
I don't think he's looking to all that. No.
Exactly, because he it's the opportunity for him. But these other guys coming in like with resumes and cachet, so you're gonna have to give me a little bit more. So that's what I think is gonna happen, just because it's the Bears. I've heard Kevin Warren is kind of trying to kick the tires on the Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman. I don't want to coach. I think they have to go with, and we've been hearing this a lot, somebody that's a leader of men. They have to go with that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because it was.
I'm gonna tell you this
from Hard Knocks, and I said it to you when Hard Knocks was airing. Eberflus looked like he was too busy trying to be just one of the guys instead of just running the team with all the nicknames, and I didn't like that. So I think they're gonna go opposite of that. I think they do feel like Thomas Brown is a leader of men, and he already in our back pocket. And we finished for him, because we just saw him do this with Eberflus last year. The team showed improvement. They didn't quit on him. They looked better at the end of the season. Let's bring him back. So why wouldn't they do it again? We just saw him do Mitch Trubisky and Fox. We just saw him do Matt Nagy, and so why wouldn't they just done this for the 3rd time? So why wouldn't they do that again? Like I don't have any faith in them to get this right. But that would be my options if I was presenting to Kevin Warren on what to do.
Well, there's a lot on the table. We haven't even talked about the fact that they're trying to build a stadium. And I think hiring the right coach is going to be crucial to that development. There's one thing that you have not said. Is the next coach, he has to come in here, and not only he has to flip culture, but he most definitely has to flip culture, and that has to include Caleb Williams. And like I said, I didn't want Caleb from the jump. It was brings me to another concern. He's talented as shit. Great college quarterback, showing a lot of poise as a rookie. But I just think, and there's a lot we don't know, but this is what I get. Amani Toomer, I'm gonna bring it up again. Said when Caleb Williams was talking about, he told the players that we must clean up after ourselves in the locker room. It has really nothing to do technically, has nothing to do with anything that happens on the field. But the way this team is playing, I'm starting to think that they're saying all the right things when the mic is in the when the mic around when the microphone is in their face and in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Press conferences, whatever. But I think there's a lot of envy in this locker room. And if it's not envy, it's definitely a lack of championship level attitudes. Mercedes Lewis played with the Packers, and he's the one guy on the offense that we could say played in some winning scenarios when we talk about that. But he hasn't. They didn't win anything. They were winning the North, the NFC North, but they weren't winning. They weren't going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
I think I don't even know when the last time the Packers been in the NFC Championship game.
2020 versus Brady. Brady went to
Okay.
Lambeau and beat him. Wasn't nobody there
Okay.
because it was
Okay.
COVID.
That was the COVID. Okay. It was COVID season.
And
Okay.
then and remember they lost to the 49ers too out in
Yeah.
San Francisco. Remember they got blew out?
Okay. Okay. So I believe my Mercedes Lewis was on those teams, if I'm correct. But that just brought me back to guys with the mentality of being in winning cultures and winning situations over the years. And you pointed it out earlier. There's not a lot of that around. We put a lot of guys together, a lot of talent together. Also, what fans have to realize, the new school fan is these guys outside of Mercedes Lewis, these free agents, rookies, unless they put some time in these rivalry games, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, they don't give a damn about them games. They're games. They got to go out and compete. But the level of intensity and preparation may not be the same as it is for like a Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson might really have a chip on his shoulder about the Packers, the Vikings, or the Lions. Um, but for the most part, maybe even Kyler Gordon and Brisker because they've been here for a couple years.
Like
But
3 years.
when you look throughout this roster, there's not a lot of that. These guys are here to get paid, almost like mercenaries. The free agents. Hey,
Right,
I
right.
got it. Bayard, with not Kevin Bayard, the guy that they picked up, the safety they picked up from the
31, that's
Packers.
fire. Yeah.
Okay, is is that the guy that's married to Simone Biles?
Oh no, that's Owens.
Owens.
Mm,
Owens played for the Packers,
yeah.
so he knows a little bit about the NFC North rivalry. Plus, he may have a little chip on his shoulder because he may think he has something to prove to the Packers. But outside of that, I'm starting to think that there's some envy in the locker room, and I would have to think that it starts with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze has shown that they are on the same page. I mean, even in adversity, they have shown that they could, make an adjustment and get on the same page throughout all the trash that's going on. More. I mean, coming into the season, he was probably the most established offensive player we were excited about. They casted Khalil Herbert away. Roshan Johnson right now, he didn't even play against the 49ers. I'm unaware of any type of injury he had. Okay, because Darrington Evans played in the game against the 49ers. He's another guy that's been brought back and forth from
And
the Bears
Travis
to
Homer.
Miami. Travis Homer, yeah. But Homer was in Houston, right?
Uh
He wasn't in he was I mean he was I think he was a guy, he was a fit from last year's team, and I think coming into this season, he was familiar with Waldron's system. So I think that's another reason why he got more playing time that we expected he would, because he was more familiar with the system. because he had worked with Waldron before in Seattle. But I just got to get back to the point. I just think there's some envy and there's definitely some do not give a fuck going on in Hallis Hall. And I'm willing to bet we got 4 games left. There's some guys that can't wait to get the hell out of town and never come back.
Yeah, it's 53 men on the roster. You at this point, what's their record? 4-9. You gotta believe it's a lot of great percentage of them. Like, man, let's just get to the end of the season. I don't want to get hurt. I'm ready to take my family on vacation because this
and get the hell out of Chicago. I bet you see where I end up next year.
I bet you Everett. Remember they signed him in the offseason, and we was like, oh, that's a good pickup. But he has not been a factor whatsoever all year. I bet he's one of them.
There's quite a few. Got to be quite a few. But you might be right about that. But so many questions I have about this team. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I put my mind was set months ago. But this gonna be a gut punch. So you better hope that the Michigan Wolverines turn this thing around. Because I think I sent you a text and I say the Michigan Wolverines will be they'll be competing, they'll be contenders. Oh, yeah. Before the Bears will be. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. Caleb Williams won't be in Chicago in 4 years.
I can't even touch that one. Because that's just so far out there. Like, I can't even go because he can't.
But that's what I do. I go far and I go out. I'm just gonna sit back and let it happen now. Because what I see is there's so many guys that they're gonna have to get the hell out of here. They're not close to winning anytime soon. And when you go all the way back to the beginning, the contract negotiation, putting the contract in an LLC, that was a red flag for me. And it had to be a red flag for Kevin Warren, and it had to be a red flag for Ryan Poles. We done fired 2 coaches. Okay? I know he's a rookie. But, and I got to be fair to him as well, because there was reasons if he didn't want to come to Chicago, this was one of the reasons why. Oh, yeah. He didn't want to come to Dysfunction.
Exactly.
And I really believe, now also in that contract negotiation, he wanted to put his money in an LLC. But one of the biggest red flags that went over a lot of fans' head, that he was trying to get them to waive the option to franchise him at any time during this contract. So what that tells me, that when he wants to get the hell out of Chicago, he wants the freedom to go. And that goes over a lot of fans' head, because they so worried about the next Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Now, the only hope if Bear fans have is that in the next year or two that the Bears get to a playoff and you change and impress upon Caleb and his people to say, you know what? Chicago ain't that bad. See, but if they don't win in the next 2 years, he's going to ask for a trade.
When you come at it from that perspective, I can see what you're saying. When it was coming through for text, it was missing a lot of that context, because I was looking at it as far as like the Bears wouldn't go offer him another contract. I'm like, the Bears would offer him a contract right now if they could, because they just ain't had.
Why?
They ain't had a quarterback. They so quarterback.
They made this mistake. With Jay Cutler. Would you offer him an extension right now?
Jay got.
Would you?
Yeah, they would
you extend Caleb Williams right now? Would you?
He got to play out his contract for me. But I'm saying the Bears and the general fan base, because if Jay Cutler was the last resemblance of a quarterback that they've seen, and he got 9 years here, and we just had to go through the Mike Glennons and the Mitch Trubisky's and the Andy Daltons and the Justin Fields and the Caleb Haneys and all these guys that took snaps, starting snaps for the Chicago Bears, you can guarantee that they would sign him to an extension right now because they don't want to go back into the wilderness of not having a guy. And they feel like Caleb is the guy and they can build around him. But what you said, that made a lot of sense because you taking it from the Caleb perspective. I was more of the Bears perspective. So, okay. All right. Now it makes sense. That's why we do this show, people.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. Bears got Minnesota on Monday Night Football coming up next.
Oh, we gotta wait. We gotta wait for Monday Night Football to get our ass kicked next.
And it's gonna be 2 games that night, I think. I don't know who's gonna play the second game, but there's a doubleheader that Monday night. But the Bears definitely go to Minnesota to get the Minnesota Vikings. And another game where we're gonna see what type of effort do we get out of this roster for Coach Thomas Brown. Because according to what you're saying, he still has a shot. And if he continue to get the effort that they got against the 49ers, they are shooting him. That's all I can take.
Y'all gotta like, comment, and subscribe off of that one. Just that was a drop the mic right there. I ain't got nothing else. You gotta like, comment, and subscribe on that one.
Watch the game.
We out.